Hi, I am today on my 5th attempt at trying to make a pressure canned pineapple upside down cake. It seems like it's been rising okay, it's tasting okay, but a lot of times it's just too doughy or dumpling-like in the middle. So I've switched things up a little bit, and instead of using regular flour, I'm going to use cake flour, and I'm also going to add baking powder to my mix. So what I have done is started over, revised the recipe a little bit, and I have some butter and some sugar, which I'm going to put in my mixer, and I'm going to mix until it's fluffy. After that, I'm going to add some eggs, some vanilla, my homemade vanilla, and then I'm going to add my dry ingredients, which are flour, salt, and baking powder, and pineapple juice. I'm going to can those in a couple of different size cans so that I can get a feel for it. So I've got, both of these are 8-ounce jars. This one's a little bit short and flat. This one is more traditionally like the mason jar. But I want to see what each one of these is going to do. I'm also going to decrease the time that I have been doing these. I've been doing these at 75 minutes simply because that's the quote-unquote safe zone. But after researching the concerns that many people have in terms of cakes being safe and getting botulism, the botulism will die, the main part of it will die when you're cooking it, when it hits the 240 degrees, which in a pressure canner it will. It's the botulism spores that remain, and they will die after 30 minutes at 240 degrees. So I'm going to can these cakes at somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes and see if I can't get them to rise, get a cake-like texture, and still have a comfort level that I'm doing a safe canning practice. This is not considered a USDA safe canning practice because it's a cake. And a cake in a pressure canner is never going to have the same texture as a cake in the oven. Now I know the cakes in the oven are real popular right now. Bake a cake in a canning jar, in a mason jar, put on the cover, it seals. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're comfortable with. For me personally, even though your oven's at 350, it seems like the inside of the cake isn't getting to more than 300, is from what is the research that I've done. So that's why I'm pursuing the pressure canning. At some point in time, I might try the baked cakes too, but at this point in time, I really want to pursue the pressure canning. So I'm going to mix up my batter, and when I get all that done, I will be back. All right, so my cake batter is mixed up. Doing that just takes a couple minutes once you have all of your ingredients put together. You can see I have a batter that really is the consistency of cake. So that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my jars, and again, I have some assorted size jars to try here, and I'm going to fill them to within a ½ inch of the rim, of the top. And it's going to take a little bit more on that one. And then I'm going to debubble these just slightly, but I don't want to disturb the brown sugar underneath. So I will do that afterwards. And that probably is about 1 inch. So I'm going to go just a tiny bit more there. All right, like so. Put that one in. And then I just, so you can see that the layer, I have the brown sugar and the pineapple and the cherry at the bottom. And then I have the cake batter, and I have it filled to within about a ½ inch of the top. And I'm going to do the same thing with this slightly taller jar. Again, it's the same volume of cake. It's you know, the 8 ounces, but it's a different shape. So in theory, this one, the shorter one, will cook faster because it's spread out more. And between the 2 jars, I'm hoping that one of them gives me the right consistency of cake that is acceptable for pressure canned, and then hopefully I will have a recipe to go. So I've got that one now filled with a ½ inch also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the rest of my jars. I'm going to ripe the rims, and then I'm going to put them in the pressure canner, and then I'll be back. All right, so I'm just putting the lid on the last jar here of cake. I'm using a clean, damp cloth. I do have a lot of sweetness here with the pineapple and with the brown sugar, and some people will choose to use vinegar just to get rid of that. I tend to use vinegar more if I'm working with grease, which of course I have at the bottom with the butter and the brown sugar, but I used an insert for that, and I'm really confident that I'm clean on that. I did debubble, well, most of these jars. This recipe gave me 5 jars, all 8 ounces. And if you take a look, like this one I did not debubble, and I need to go back in and do it. You can see the air bubble a little bit between the pineapple and the cake batter. When possible, you really want to get rid of those air bubbles, because when you're pressure canning and you have air bubbles, that air can push up, and that can cause siphoning, number one, but also with cake, that air can disrupt the structure of the cake as it's normally baking, but we're pressure canning. So I have 5 jars in 2 assorted size. My pressure canner is heated. I did not heat the jars this time, and the batter really is, for all practical purposes, at room temperature. So I'm going to put them in the pressure canner. I'm going to can them for 40 minutes, and then we'll see how they come out. They're going to need to rest for 12 hours, so more than likely I will be back tomorrow with the results, and fingers crossed that we have good cake. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the results. Hi, I'm back with our experiment of a pressure canned pineapple upside down cake. As I mentioned previously, I revamped the recipe, used cake flour, and added some baking powder, and let's see what the results are. I did do 2 different size jars, one shorter, one more traditionally, and both of them are nicely browned and look really good. The syrup on the bottom of them, meaning the butter and the brown sugar, is definitely liquid. You can see that, and that happened in all 4 jars. The question is, do we have an acceptable cake or cake-like item here? So I'm going to go ahead and open these and test them out and see what it looks like on the inside, and hopefully it works. So on the top, it looks promising. Have a nice opening, or a nice top to the cake. It's browned, it's not overly moist at all. I did not grease these jars, so we'll see how they come out in terms of out of the jar. I guess I want to try the cake here a little bit first. It's definitely cake. It's not doughy. I'm going to run a knife along the inside of this jar. This is a pretty deep jar, to get this out, and let's see what it looks like. All right, so getting it out of the deep jar is a little bit more of a chore, but I definitely have cake here. I'm going to take the pineapple off. Got the pineapple and cherry on top. Could eat this out of the jar, but I want the pineapple on the inside. Now I'm going to cut this in half and see what it looks like on the inside. And I have cake. I'm super happy with this. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Hopefully you can see in the light that it is actually cake. I think we finally have a cake recipe. Let me try this and see how it is. See if it's overly dry or not. Okay, I'm super happy with this. This is a cake. This is a cake that is a light cake now on the inside. It's a little bit heavier cake than a light cake that you baked, but this is good. I'm really excited about this. Now I'm going to do one of the shorter jars and see how that works also, because the density is a little bit bigger, and ideally this would be easy to eat out of, but these jars aren't as common. They're a little bit more difficult to find. So, okay, I'm excited. Let's open this one and see what we have here. Again, you know, I open my jars here with a knife and a can opener. I never reuse my lids for pressure canning, but I use them all the time for dehydrated foods. So again, I have a good looking cake on the inside. fell just a tiny bit, but I'm not overly concerned about that. I'll get my spoon and see what we have for density. It's about the same. It works, it's tasty. It's like cake. This one is going to be a little bit easier to serve up, I think. I'm just going to run a knife around the rim and turn it upside down to make it a true pineapple upside down cake. And that worked really nicely. So we have pineapple upside down cake. Did not grease the jar again. Have a little bit of residue on the inside, but not a big deal. I'm going to cut this open on the inside. And again, we have cake that works really, really well. So I think, it's dripping all over the cupboard. I think we have a recipe here that will work in either jar. I think it's more attractive in the shorter jar, but I am super excited that I have what I believe is cake pressure canned. I'm gonna try this quick. This works, guys. I want to mention again, this is technically not a USDA approved recipe. Pressure can cake is just not something that has been tested. This was pressure canned for 40 minutes. Technically, the botulism spores go at 240 degrees for 30 minutes, and pressure canners get up to 240 degrees or more. So I feel really comfortable with this for us. You have to decide for yourself whether or not that's something you want to try or not, but I'm super excited about this, and this is something that's going to go on to our shelves for sure. So thanks for watching. If you want the recipe, it's below in the link. Be sure, please, to give me a thumbs up on this and subscribe to the channel for more recipes. I've got a couple of other ideas that I'm working on, including a raspberry swirl cake. Might try a pound cake recipe down the road, but I'm also working on other recipes that use Garden Harvest also. This isn't Garden Harvest, and I understand that, but it's a pressure can treat, and I think it fits in with what we want to do. And some people grow pineapples. I think most of us aren't that lucky, but anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate your support.